The courts have ordered a Rolette County man charged with striking and killing a young girl with his car in 2021 to 5 years in prison. 27-year-old Joshua Forshen pleaded guilty to charges of leaving the scene of an accident involving death or personal injury and negligent homicide. Investigators say he struck a 7-year-old girl from Dunseith as she was crossing the road on Highway 281. Prosecutors say he fled the scene but eventually returned. Forshen had a warrant out for his arrest and was taken into custody late last month after fleeing a traffic stop near Max. Several people testified at today's sentencing hearing for the state and defense, including the girl's mother. Judge Anthony Benson went with a plea agreement that calls for 5 years on the negligent homicide charge. Forshen was ordered to serve 10 years on the leaving the scene charge, but with all of it suspended for 2 years. Restitution will be determined at a later date.